Hello, Lisa Hobelman here. And the book that I am reviewing and reporting on is 1599, A Year in the Life of Shakespeare by James Shapiro. And I chose this book for a couple of reasons. Number one, I first registered for college when I was 15 years old, and I ended up going in and out of college. And one of the times I did go back, and as we say, life gets in the way, challenges.
Don't be defeatist, dear. It's very middle class.
But I did go back in as a theater major.
And why?
Acting, writing, directing, the technical stuff. And I absolutely loved it. And I started my study of Shakespeare when I was a teenager, when I was about 17 years old. And then when I went back into college, I went back in as a theater major. And so this intrigued me. 1599, A Year in the Life of Shakespeare, has the idea that if we are going to find Shakespeare, we need to find him in his own world. We need to look for him in his own world.
Don't you dare.
That is the world of the theater. And so that really excited me. And I think that's important for the authorship controversy. Who really wrote these works? And Shapiro contends they could have been written only by a man of the theater. I did end up graduating, by the way, last year at the age of 60 with a bachelor's degree from Harper, so 45 years. Shakespeare wrote 4 plays in 1599. He wrote Henry V, and then there was Julius Caesar, and As You Like It, and then finally he began work on Hamlet. And Shapiro contends that we must look at what's going on around Shakespeare while he is writing these plays. So we have an insurgency in Ireland. There had been a lot of trouble between the English and the Irish going back centuries. And the Irish were trying to throw off the English. And the beautiful Queen Elizabeth had sent the Earl of Essex to put down the insurgency. And that did not go well at all. And there was also a threat from the Spanish, right? 11 years before, we had the Spanish Armada, and everybody was very worried that there was going to be another big problem with the Spanish.
Once more! Onto the breach, dear friends, once more! Or close the wall up with our English dead!
There was also concern over the gorgeous Elizabeth I, who was going to succeed her, and would she even last? There were rumors that there were threats to depose her. What about the Earl of Essex? Was he going to try to depose Queen Elizabeth? So these themes of foreign invasion, the palace intrigues, what's going to happen to the monarch, who will succeed the monarch, will the monarch be deposed, all of these things run through these plays. And that's how Shapiro in 1599 presents William Shakespeare as a product of his environment, and the plays as a product of Shakespeare and a man of his world, with all of these things going on around him.
Why does every day involve a fight with an American?
So Shapiro talks about how about a couple of hundred years ago that people began to doubt the authorship of Shakespeare. Did Shakespeare really write these plays? And what people were doing, he contends, is that they were looking for Shakespeare in his plays.
Will that not be awkward?
They were looking for him in Hamlet. They're looking for Shakespeare in Julius Caesar.
That'd be ridiculous.
And they couldn't find Shakespeare in Julius Caesar. No?
No.
So they began to look for a more suitable candidate. Who had the education, who had the background to be able to write about emperors and to be able to write about monarchs and life at court. And so different people began putting forward more suitable candidates.
Lady, might I be allowed to put forward a candidate?
But Shapiro contends if we're going to find Shakespeare, we have to look for him in his world. And this is through the lens of historicism, right? Which says that literary works and their authors are products of the age in which they were written. They're actually products of the political things going on, what was going on in the culture. And we cannot lift Shakespeare and his works out of the age. and study them under a microscope. Historicism says we have to study them all together. And that is what Shapiro offers us in 1599.
Do you promise?
And it is arranged according to seasons, and it opens with winter. And I love the opening because William Shakespeare and the comic actor Will Kemp and others, the men of the Chamberlain's Men, that theater troupe that Shakespeare belonged to, they had lost their lease on the land. They still owned the physical building, but negotiations with the landlord who owned the land broke down. And so they were going to lose the theater. And it was around Christmas time. It was freezing cold. And while the landlord is on vacation, the men of the theater, William Shakespeare included, they go out there with axes and hammers and nails, and they take apart their theater, the building which they own, plank by plank, number everything. They're going to haul it across the river, and they're going to put it up on the other side. And so it will rise like the phoenix and be known as the Globe Theater. And then Shapiro will take us through season by season, and he talks about Will Kemp. And this is interesting. This he was very famous in his own time. Will Kemp, comic actor, the body humor, very lowbrow. And Shapiro contends that Shakespeare had had enough of this and was very happy to see Will Kemp go.
Nonsense.
And he does go. He sells his share in the theater, and he departs, Shapiro contending that he's going to have this great solo career, which does not happen. But what does happen is that this makes it possible for Shakespeare to push forward the dramatist, the playwright, at the center of the theater, at the center of the globe, which does happen. And it elevates Shakespeare, and his works, Shapiro contends, takes off in a new direction. So, in the eternal battle, who wrote Shakespeare? We have two main sides. We have the Oxfordians and we have the Stratfordians. The Oxfordians believe that the 17th Earl of Oxford, Edward de Vere, wrote the works of Shakespeare. He had means, he was titled, he was well-traveled, he was very well educated, known at court. And then on the other hand, we have the humble son of a humble glove maker, William of Stratford. And the Stratfordians believe that William wrote the works of Shakespeare. I am a Stratfordian, and I will tell you why. It is because of my love of history and my love of the theater and my time spent in the theater that I agree with James Shapiro that only a man of a theater, and I have lived in the theater, I eat, sleep, breathe the theater when I was there, and only a man of the theater, contends Shapiro, could have written the works of Shakespeare. And that is what I know.
You were wrong.
I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong, but this is a wonderful book, 1599, James Shapiro. Get it, read it, find out for yourself. It is a lot of fun, and make up your own mind. Thanks for watching.